Hi folks, I'm very excited to discover that SBTV is organising a historic debate in Portcullis House in Westminster for all the locked-in young people. I think locked in, I'm told, is a technical term meaning switched on.
Is that everyone?
Hello and welcome to SBTV for a very special Inspiration Season episode, a specially designed Sound Clash debate. We've teamed up with Channel 4 and Battlefront to challenge our rhyming pals you might have heard of, like Rizzle Kicks, Lady Leisha, G-Fresh, Maxter, Screwfizzer and Mike Righteous. Joined by a selection of you lot, we'll be providing you guys with a platform to get your point across, remembering there's always two sides to an argument, and hopefully planting the seeds of discussion and brains throughout the land. Each round is going to be summarised with a sound clash, so we're getting back to the old school elements of rhyme while cementing the origins of SBTV DB8.
Battlefront DB8.
I'm Ed Miliband.
Yeah, sure. I thought I'd remember that bit. I'm Ed Miliband, leader of the Labour Party, and this is SBTV Battlefront DB8.
So my first statement is that young people don't respect authority. Things to consider here might be the need for more discipline in schools, or perhaps authority figures are scared of young people. Over here we're going to say young people do respect authority, and over here we're going to have young people don't respect authority. Let's go over to our panellists. What do you make, Gary?
No, I think ultimately authority is society. And I think young people respect society as long as society respects them, and maybe that's more what the rights are about.
Effectively, what do you reckon, Sean?
I think it's about the type of authority. I think young people need to consider what happens if they don't respect authority, what happens if they do. I think most young people pick and choose when it suits them, as all people do. If you look at the riots, there's plenty of adults throwing bricks as well. It wasn't a young thing. But what I'd want you to consider is, how do you see authority? If you're sat at home watching this now, do you feel like you always respond in the correct way to authority?
Perhaps it's a problem with not respecting authority across not just young people, but everybody. Who wants to start us off? Should we go for over there in the back? Come forward. Yes?
I just got a statement. I think young people do respect authority. They just don't respect the people that misuse their authority.
They don't respect... Would you like to elaborate?
I say young people do respect authority. It just depends if they see them as authority, because how could you see somebody as authority if they're messing about with your lives and not caring about your lives? Look at the MPs and the police. They were arguing with each other, not even thinking about the young people. How are you going to see them as authority? You're going to see people as authority, people that are physically trying to help your lives. And sometimes young people see people like gang leaders as authority. They see them as more as authority than people up above, because they're just taking the piss out of their lives.
Young people don't respect authority. Why not?
I think we disrespect authority because authority undermines us. I think we had movements like the student movements a little while back, where people were trying to speak out, people were trying to have their voice heard, and they created a movement. And that movement spread across the entire world, like places like Libya, Cairo, that kind of thing. And it just shows that we weren't listened to. Like, politicians take it for granted. They take us as our youth perspectives for granted, and I feel that's wrong. I think, why should we show them respect if they won't respect our views?
Go for it.
I'm against it. I've got this belief right because I'm really sick and tired of being told that I have to respect authority. It's not about respecting, it's about working together and in partnership.
Authority boss people around too much. Do you agree?
Yeah, I totally disagree, because we don't boss people around too much. The government is in place to look after us, and we must respect them in order to be looked after. This is like a society where we're governed and we're looked after by the state. We're constantly given benefits that no one takes account of, yet we have to give them, we refuse to give them respect.
Perhaps the government could do more to consult young people. We've got loads of hands. Over to you.
In 2007, there were 325,000 suspensions in secondary schools, and in England and Wales, more young people have been imprisoned than any other country in Western Europe. There's no understanding between authority and young people. We're just treated like poo, like shit. You do this, we throw you. There needs to be a mutual understanding between authority and between young people.
That it's all about how basically we communicate that authority to the children, okay? If people are disrespecting authority, it's because they haven't understood it. So we have to teach them in other ways and communicate in other ways. And that means they see where this authority is coming from. We get people from the top at the bottom, as opposed to filtering down the system where the message gets lost. Whereas if you get people from the top in with the bottom in the schools, it'll work much better.
Perhaps we need to lessen the gap between authority and the young people to be able to cooperate together. Yes, over to, in the back, we haven't heard from you.
I think that young people don't respect authority because they're not given enough authority. Like, whenever we talk about young people's issues, like, we're never really consulted in the policy making or like the actual processes in which we're disciplined. So I think there needs to be more mitigation on like a halfway point where people are actually listening and not saying like vacuous things.
How would you consult young people more?
Well, they're obviously like through like initiatives like this, through kind of think tanks, through like groups where young people can just meet and actually also engage with like authorities in police, in government, in like whatever. There just needs to be more like inclusion. We're just excluded and talked about and then like not talked to, so yeah.
Well, thank you very much for sharing, guys, on both sides. I think something that was agreed by all was that mutual respect is really integral to be able to move us forward as a generation and a country. Next up, we're going to have these rappers kind of summarising your points. We'll give them 10 minutes to write their bars, and I'll see you on the other side.
Arguing against the fact that young people do not respect authority. We've got Maxter in the building. Let's hear it for Maxter. On my right-hand side, arguing for the fact that young people do not respect authority. We've got Lady Leisha in the building. Let's hear it for Leisha. I'm ready to do this. MCs, you ready for this? Yeah. All right, then, let's go. DJ Randa.
Yeah. SBTV, Battlefront, DB8, Leisha, Maxter. Listen. But this right here's to the kids of the nation. You need to think with your brain and realize life is as real as a statement. You don't want a bad reputation, because you weren't gonna have education or a nice job or a nice place. Be very careful for your life's sake. It's like most don't think with their mind straight, and that's where they go wrong. They wanna represent where they come from. Some kids do it just because that's all they know. And if they're from the slums, and some suffer in silence because they're victims of domestic violence. But that don't mean that they're gonna act bad. I just wanna see you fly like a pilot.
Yeah, I can't stress this enough. Have faith in the youth, because the future is meant to be us. And these adults think we move aggressively because we're in groups, puzzling. Life in these present times. Jake got nicked for the second time. I'm putting these lyrics down, getting signed, but teachers don't know what a threat is like when a young man's forced to protect his life. Harder than ever, the lack of respect's mutual, not youthful. And I ain't justifying it. You ever spoke to a kid, just try and it will show you. There's more to us than headlines show you. As for writers, some of them were old too, so the segregation vibes old new.
Nah, are you hearing this? Really, I don't believe in this. Nowadays kids have no respect for their elders, so that's a deeper risk. Most don't have respect for the authority. The majority always want to beef with laws and policies that are monstrosity. Some are living in poverty, but that's no excuse for them to burn down shops that they only use. Listen, and it's bad, because they will only lose. And when the riots happened, I was saddened. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, because it looked like follow fashion. We need you to stop the madness.
Yeah. Left off RESPECT, wear my trousers low so when police see me, they wanna know if a gun's beneath these jeans, but leave me be. I'm no scapegoat. I just rap bars with a great flow. Britain's where you can find stars on the main road, like MAX and 3K Coke. If you've ever been attacked on your way home, well, kid, I'm sorry on their behalf, but hey, search for light in these darker days instead of passing blame. Something like that. I'm done. Cool.
So my next statement that I'm putting out to our panellists and the floor is urban culture empowers rather than imprisons. What do you guys make of this?
I would say it definitely empowers. A wise woman once said to me that shit is the best fertilizer. And that was why I wanted to apply some context to the word shit, because I do think that one thing the urban community is really good at is building something out of nothing. And at the end of the day, I think the current success that we're seeing in the charts has come as a result of us as a generation taking hold of the system and saying, you know what, if you won't give us a leg in, because the media is still institutionally racist, we'll just build our own way in. And we've got it to a point where you can't basically fuck with it.
I think if you see it as an expression of what life is like on the street, what the life is like for young people, then as a commentary, yeah, it's understandable. But the trouble is people take that and they see it as an example rather than a commentary.
We've got one add-on. Hello, Mr. Prince.
Yes, what you find with the music industry, they're not interested in what you've got to say, they're interested in making money. So what makes money is talking a load of garbage. That's why you find a lot of good artists that have got something good to say, they're underground. You know, the artists that are really constructive, that the young people love, they're not blowing up. The artists that are chatting rubbish, they're at the top because they're giving exactly what the music industry wants. They don't want to educate and have the young people thinking constructively. They want the young people to look at them in a negative way and say, this is what young people are doing.
Go on, Prince. Well deserved. All right, so over on this side, we're going to have urban culture empowers. All right, urban culture empowers. And over here, we're going to have urban culture in prisons. So we're going to go straight over urban culture empowers.
It empowers because it's giving people who might not have a chance at other aspects in life to finally make something of their life, or at least like express what's going on for them and just how things are on the streets, because a lot of people don't realise how it is. And it's not, people like say, yeah, they're just saying these words, but if your life is like that, you can't be singing about like happy days and roses and whatnot, because you're doing what you've got to do on the street.
It's giving a voice to the voiceless. That's what it's doing.
Especially when you see someone come from the same roots as you, the same estates, the same postcode or something like that, when they go up and you think to yourself, do you know what, if I come from there, then I can do the same thing. So that's where the empowerment is. So where you lot are coming with rubbish.
All right, a fair point for empowers. How about in prisons? What have you got to say back to that? These guys are inspired by guys like them, not compromising on their music and making them feel like they can do it.
Yeah, well, it's because of those kind of lyrics, the urban culture in prisons, because it's you get young musicians that want to follow in their favourite artist's footsteps, and if they're looking at them thinking, you know, oh, I got to rap about gats and blowing people up. But if some of their favourite artists are rapping at that kind of stuff, it limits them into what they think they can rap about to be successful.
Yeah. Urban culture limits people, so they think they've only got one choice. Over to someone we haven't heard of from you.
Obviously, there's artists like K-Coke now who's just gone to prison. And a lot of kids would look up to him, especially kids from a white background, and they'd want to be like him because they brag about it on Facebook. Free Coke, he's gone to prison. I think it's a cool thing. It's almost like a fashion to come from a shit background, and then they want to live that gangster lifestyle.
Yeah. And what have you guys got to say back to that? Does K-Coke give all of urban music a bad name?
I just want to say he hasn't actually been on trial yet, so I think we have to be very careful about what we're saying in this context, innocent until proven guilty. However, that's one example of an artist. That is one example of an artist.
Yeah, what have you got to say, mate?
A lot of people have been secluded from mainstream society, and urban culture is like a way to express themselves. It's like a way of life. If we look at graffiti, a lot of businesses have used graffiti designs as their logos. A lot of businesses, 2012, the logos from graffiti, a lot of businesses are now using designs from graffiti from urban culture. So I think that urban culture is, in a sense, become a part of mainstream culture.
All right, hang on, we're just going to hear over here. Yeah, why is it in prison?
I think urban culture stereotypes are used by the media, which are then used by authoritative figures, by older generations that don't understand urban culture and used against them. Hoodies, all the rest of it.
So maybe a few give the rest a bad name, but we're talking about empowerment. What would you say on the back of that?
We need to find a clear distinction between what is urban culture and what is industry culture. That's the type of thing that sells. iPods, iPads, all of this, women like materializing themselves. That's what sells. Urban culture is talking about things like what Akala talks about, what Logic talks about, what Loki talks about. But you lot don't hear that.
Talking about empowerment, you've had your hand up for a very long time.
No offense, but like half the people in this room can't talk about urban culture because no one knows what it's like. Yeah.
Why? Why don't they know what it's like? Wait, hang on. Why? Why do they not know what it's like?
Because half the people here are from, I'm not being rude or anything, for Hertfordshire and Kent and stuff. Those places you can't go to urban show.
Is
my friend. That's not urban culture.
Urban culture is bad. We've got one last point we're going to ask you.
Right, I'm from Dagenham, right? Barking and Dagenham. And people I'm with, right, they're trying to make music. Everyone in Barking and Dagenham thinks they can rap. And, right, they listen to Wiz Khalifa, Rick Ross, and all that. And all they talk about, Rick Ross boasts about moving cocaine and his drug deals. And Wiz Khalifa talks about smoking weed all day, do you know what I mean? And listen, studios, I go to studio most days here, and the people are sitting there smoking weed. They're not even making the music. And I'm from the real urban, do you know what I mean?
Well, that rounds us up for this point. Thank you very, very much, guys. I feel like we definitely got a bit more fiery on that point than we did the first one. Now I'm going to hand it over to those happy hip-hoppers, Rizzle Kicks and Tiny Tempers Top Tip G-Fresh, who's going to summarise for us.
All right, an argument and a debate right there that definitely stirred the emotions in the room, people. The subject matter is urban culture. Does it empower or does it imprison? Serious. The guys are now about to summarize what you debated in raps. Okay? Simple as that. You guys ready? Let's hear it for G-Fresh, representing for the empowerment side. And let's hear it for Rizzle Kicks, representing the imprisonment side. Words, people. Okay, you guys ready to do this thing? All right, let's go. DJ, run that.
Okay, I'm representing Rizzle Kicks. I'm on the side of imprisonment. These views are not my own. Let's go. Yeah, I'm confused, bruv. I hear this rapper spitting on the rhythm about all kinds of shit. Emphasize the fact he isn't kidding. Then I hear he shot a kid outside the place somewhere I'm living. Do I disapprove of it or give a shit another listen? See, he's open about murdering the lyrics that he's written, but try and play his mixtape to the family of the victim, and they won't be hyping or pulling up is what I'm thinking. They'll be praying that their kin ain't in a similar position. You say it, don't imprison. I'm saying, brother, there's no sort of doubt. Murdering and killing's all the fuck anyone talks about. There's anger in society that needs a form to short the term. Vicious circle comes to mind, we need to sort it out. Don't look at me like this is kinda mad. You're talking about literally taking somebody's life. It's sad to see kiddies spitting at ages like 7, 9 and that, mimicking the actions like it's the kind of life to have.
Stand in the mirror and stare at your reflection. Convey it in a form, and then that's called expression. Sell it and they buy it, then that's called a blessing. And when they criticize it, that's another form of rejection. Add it to a long list, so instead of getting blinded by the flash, take a look at the whole pic and not just the negatives. Hang it on your wall when it starts to look strange. You find what's to blame's outside the frame, like somewhere in the politics and socio-economics, when religion's at a low, so we're all chasing profits. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, and the credit's still crunching, but it's not biting yours. And yeah, I see the flaws in that gun talk, but surely some harm's done when G.I. Joe's got a gun, or when we're all sitting at the big screen, the hero's got the big thing, and we all cheer when he's rinsing.
The glamour side of guns we really shouldn't have. Maybe people switch off when the gun is in the hero's hands. I'm just saying when G.I. Joe is shooting, there's a clear difference made between who's the good and who's the bad. Here it doesn't feel like people found a common enemy. I hear you preaching about the time you're beating felonies that greatly overweighs the voices set in tones. Say you didn't need to shot keys for notes to keep a decent melody. Police is the target, will you unite to make a stand? Fighting a system that oppresses is the greater plan. But do we seem as a unit when half the days they have to investigate us killing each other? We lose a major hand. Richer getting richer, adapt or die. The current racist man is not being given a reason to change his debate or stand corrected. I want to see you hoodie an interview like I'm employed with a degree. Now what's the sergeant gonna say to that?
To aspire, musicians, dancers, directors and writers, label execs, managers, DJs and designers, artists, photographers, actors, models, all with a burning desire, never resting on their laurels. A culture that was born and flourishes in oppression surely is empowering just by pure definition. Rags to riches, turning crosses to kisses. One of the main reasons we don't notice any difference in the color of our skin. We find our identity in this culture that we're in. Celebrity sparks to burn a flame that's distinct. A speed to evolve from the position that we're in. A lifestyle we live and not only exist. And you asked us to talk to the kids. So now we're the problem and the fix. Even if you don't see a role model in me, then at least you got to see one in SBTV.
So my next statement is a bit of a big one. I'm asking you guys, young people can't create change. So I want these guys over here, young people can create change. Over here, you're going to say young people can't create change. While you're thinking about it, we're going to pick the brains of our panellists, starting with you.
I think one of the major challenges for young people who want to make change is understanding the past. The nature of being young, you're very alive to the present, but understanding the past is very important so you don't repeat the mistakes.
Look at history from Sean. Brian.
It's difficult for young people to make change because they don't have the vote. My party says votes for 16-year-olds because then the politicians will listen to the young people because the young people will have the votes that can elect them.
Right. So I hope that's given you guys some food for thought. Which side wants to kickstart things? Right, you with your hand up.
Yes, like I find the idea that young people can't create change quite ridiculous. I believe that young people have the opportunity to create change every day with yourself. If we all change our attitudes, we all change our values, we all change the way we think, the way we talk, the way we eat, the rest of it, then society will change with it.
Okay, young people can't create change. Why can't we?
I don't think young people can create change because there's so much bureaucracy and red tape that when they try to do something, they don't have the power to do it. So it's like what Brian was saying, authorities always shutting them down and cutting off youth schemes and stuff, so they can't do anything.
Would you agree?
No, yeah, definitely. You can see the EMA protests, the student protests, they don't create any change. And the only change young people can make is if it is in line with what the policy holders have already decided is going to happen. So, yeah, young people don't really have a voice.
So, listen, so why can we change things?
Because if you're passionate about something, like you know what you want to do, like just dream big, basically. Like this is SBTV is a good example of this. Like Jamal Edwards is here, yeah, and he's made a difference. Like this is historical. This hasn't never happened in the history when the House of Parliament, and we're debating about issues that relate to young people, and it's from the young people's perspective. So we're saying we're putting our views out there. So if you dream big and you're passionate about what you're going to do, there's nothing stopping you.
In what way do you think the government stands in our way to creating change?
Blocking off various schemes, for example, when they cut EMA, some people use that for transport, books and other stuff. But basically now they've taken everything away from us, so there's actually nothing for us, there's nothing left for us to use, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Go back to EMA, yeah? Just quickly, if you're watching and you don't know, you can get a bursary up to £30. Still, the government hasn't wiped off EMA, you can still get a bursary and just go to your school and apply for free school meals or tell them your story. Done. Thank you.
I don't think we can make change when we're still copying the past. Like the youth as a group, I'm not saying all youth did, but we started the riots. So, well, yeah, there were adults involved in that as well, but the majority of what you saw was the youth. So, well, let me finish. Yeah, so like if that's the example we're going to set, then the elders aren't going to listen to us in our societies either.
You were piping up. You don't agree with that. Why?
Totally disagree with that, because if we look at the statistics from the riots and before the riots, it's shown that people between the ages of 28 and 32 are more likely to cause trouble than anyone else. So saying that the youth can't improve and help our own situation is ridiculous.
And Brian, what have you got to say?
I'm a politician, I'm here and I'm listening.
I'm afraid that's all we've got time for, but I am thanking you very much for getting so riled up and sharing some of your knowledge, wisdom and opinions with us. And so I'll say goodbye and hand over to Raz.
All right, then, people, once again, that was a very, very lively debate. Thank you for your energy. The subject matter is really, really simple. Young people, can they make change? Representing for the side of, no, they can't make change, we've got Screw Fizzer in the building. Let's hear it for Screw. And also, representing for the side, yes, they can make change, we got the mighty Mike Righteous. Let's hear it from Mike Righteous. You guys ready to do this thing? You ready to MC? All right, then Screw, step forward. Mike Righteous, step forward.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Listen. Yeah. All right. They say we can't create a change. Of course not. The vision is torn up. Just look at the way we're living. It's all fucked. I'm speaking and preaching for people seeking their freedom. We're living like demons. We're stealing for all these reasons of meaning, because we are young youth hoping for promise to come through. But who's the one to make all of that happen and come true? Just thinking about it don't make sense to you.
See, it's all done, bruv, cause man is getting pulled over for wearing hooded jumpers. Let me emphasize a point for you to memorize. In my eyes, I think this is messed up, but I'ma tell you right. People wanna go for uni though, as usual, but can't afford to pay for a take out a student loan, cause it is 9 grand for 1 year. So if you do 3, that's 27 grand you have to pay before you do see a job in that field of work. Okay, yeah, still can work, but right, just show me a different field of work.
Let me start by explaining what a change is, what a situation rearranges the way that your brain thinks. There's young people making changes all over the nation. How can you underestimate a whole generation? There's young people making changes all over the world. There's groups of young boys and girls no older than yourself that fight to the final hour, put governments out of power now. That's change on a whole nother scale. Surely that's enough to change somebody else. We can change the way we eat just to benefit our health. All it takes is a spark in the brain to start. And I don't think it matters what age you are. So raise your hands if you're younger than 21 and you've been blamed for something you've never done. You can't blame the youth for today, because we're the representation.
Last year in April, won't make a difference. You know why? Because these parties never seem to listen. It sort of feels like we're being blocked out. The doors around us, but it's like we're feeling locked out. That's why nobody don't wanna vote no more, cause everybody in the hood ain't got hope no more. So tell me one thing, why am I meant to be positive when no one here is on an honest tip? Mike,
I love the way they label us, they blame us, it ain't enough. No wonder why we going crazy, running round taking stuff. Are we crazy or are we just waking up? They rather agitate us than relate to us. You let the riots be a mistake and a lesson. All that violence was misplaced aggression, led by those who don't know which way they're heading. I see change in the young faces that are present. So here's my message, there ain't nothing that you can't do. The youth can make a change, you can't argue. Go ask Jamal because he's the perfect example. You can make a change, you can do it for our youth. Right now, me and you have made a change through rap, simply just by stating the facts. If there's one thing you can take back with you, that's the youth is the future, and that's the truth.
I wouldn't be in politics if I didn't think it mattered. And because it matters, I want more people to be engaged in it. But we've got to find ways of doing that, and I think you're part of the answer to that.